Hi everyone, today we're going to learn how to multiply complex numbers. If you take a look at it, it looks like we're multiplying a binomial times a binomial. And that's exactly what we're doing. So the object of the game would then be to do FOIL. First, outer, inner, last, combined like terms. Okay? Please remember to replace any I squared with the -1 and combine like terms when you can. Express your answers always in A plus BI form, which means your I values should always come after your real numbers. Use I part when you've eliminated the radicals completely or when you have like radicals. We've talked about this before. You probably only want to use I part when the radicals are eliminated completely. Let's take a look at number 1. With number 1, I don't have any radicals, so I can actually go to I part. Please remember on your calculator, and again, you don't have to write these steps. I'm just writing them down now so that to bring back your memory on how to use the calculator. You're going to go to Math. You're going to scroll over to the right to enumeration. You're going to go to number 3, which is I part. You're actually going to, the parentheses opens up, you're going to put I caret 7, close parentheses, you'll put in yourself, and then I caret 5, close parentheses, and hit enter. Hopefully you achieved the answer of +1. And if you did, you're correct. And if you didn't, you might want to try that again. Alright, with number 2, we actually could do FOIL or we could do I part. But just in case you don't have your graphing calculator with you, we're going to do FOIL first, and then you can check it doing I part. Alright, so here we go. First, outer, inner, last, combined like terms. So first would be 5 times the -4 is a -20. Outer, 5 times +3i is going to give me 15i. Inner, 4i times the -4 is going to give me a -16i. Last, +4i times a +3i is going to give me a +12i squared. Let's see what we can do to neaten it up. -20 is going to come down. 15i's minus 16i's is going to give me a -1i or a -i. And I squared is a -1. So 12 times a -1 is going to be plus a -12. We can neaten it up even more. -20 plus a -12 is going to give me a -32 minus I. And that's my final answer. Now I want you to pause the video and try it using I part and see if you get the same answer. Okay, hopefully you achieved the exact same answer and we can go on. Let's take a look at number 3. With number 3, we're actually just going to go right to I part. So you're going to take your calculator out, and you're actually going to go right over to I part and plug it in and see what you get. Hopefully you ended up with 36 plus 3i. Again, you could also do FOIL if you want, first, outer, inner, last, combined like terms, and see if you get the same answer as we did using I part. But using I part is so much easier, and it saves you time on the exam to use it, and it's allowed. And again, you don't have to show the steps when you use I part. It's understood that that's what you're using. Let's take a look at number 4. With number 4, I can't use I part right now because I have radicals. So let's see if we can get rid of those negatives under the radical. Remember, you can't do anything with complex numbers when you still have a negative under the radical. Alright, so we'll have 6 plus. 100's a perfect square root, so we'll leave it as 100 times the -1. Times 3 plus 4 is a perfect square root, so we'll write it as 4 times the -1. Okay, 6 plus square root of 100 is 10, square root of a -1 is I. We have no longer have a radical, close the parentheses. Times 3 plus square root of 4 is 2, square root of a -1 is I. Again, we don't have a radical. So right now, you can actually go to your calculator and use I part, put that in, and see what you achieve. And hopefully you ended up with -2 plus 42i. Okay, let's move on to a couple more. With number 5, we can't use I part because we have radicals, so we're going to see what we can do to simplify those radicals. We have 2 plus 3 For 8, we want to use 4 times 2 times a negative 1 times negative 1 plus. For 18, hopefully you're on track with me, and we're going to use 9 times 2 times a negative 1. All right. 2 plus square root of 4 is 2, meets the 3, I get 6. Square root of 2 can't do. Square root of of negative 1 is I. My mouth is working faster than my brain. So it's 6i radical 2. Close the parentheses. Parentheses, negative 1 plus. Square root of 9 is 3. Can't take the square root of 2. Square root of negative 1 is I. So we have 3i radical 2. Okay, we're not adding, we're actually multiplying. So we still have radicals, so we're going to have to do FOIL. So we're going to do it nice and slowly. Here we go. 2 times a negative 1 is a negative 2. Outer, 2 times 3i radical 2 is going to give me a positive 6i radical 2. Inner, 6i radical 2 times a negative 1 is a negative 6i radical 2. Last, a positive 6i radical 2 times a positive 3i radical 2 is going to give me a positive 18i squared radical 4. All right, let's see what we've got here. Negative 2 comes down. A positive 6i radical 2 minus 6i radical 2 will cancel each other out. Even though it wasn't dots up there, those two guys are still going to cancel each other out. So what else do we have here? Plus 18i squared is a negative 1, and the square root of 4 is 2. So we actually have negative 2 plus 18 times a negative 1 times a positive 2 will give me a negative 36. So basically we have negative 2 plus a negative 36. My final answer is a negative 38. Whoops. Let's write that again. Negative 38. That's a lot better. Nice job. All right, let's take a look at number 6. They want me to take that and square it and subtract 8i to the third power. Okay, there's no radicals, so why don't we go ahead and use I part? So we're going to take our calculator out, and we're going to actually go to I part. We're going to go to Math, scroll over to the num for numeration, go down to number 3 for I part, type in 4 minus I, close the parentheses, squared, minus 8i, caret 3, enter, and hopefully you'll end up with 15. If you didn't, you might want to try the calculator again to make sure you get there. Once you've achieved that, let's go on to number 7. It's our last problem of the day. They want you to multiply 6 plus 4i by its conjugate. All right. So 6 minus 4i, its conjugate's going to be 6 plus 4i. You're correct. So again, we don't have any radicals present, so we can take our calculators out and use I part. So you're going to go Math, scroll over to Numeration, down to number 3 for I part, type in 6 minus 4i, close the parentheses, open up a set of parentheses, 6 plus 4i, close that set of parentheses, and hit enter, and hopefully you achieved 52. Keep practicing the calculator so you're very good at it, and if you have any problems, we can go over those in class tomorrow. Have a good evening.